So, yeah, this ought to be a lovely discussion, conversation. You know, as I wrote that book, Family and Friends, and I
Yeah.
documented like 540 people. And of course, you were one of them.
Oh, wow.
I'm kind of going through my list, and for the people who definitely have been like a center in my life, and you definitely have been one of those cornerstones.
Wow.
So I just kind of wanted to have a conversation. We first met in Sedona about 33 years
Oh,
ago.
wow, that long.
Those were wonderful adventures back then.
Yeah.
I remember you told me just recently that you had a sandwich business selling sandwiches.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. When we moved there, I mean, I thought, well, no problem. I'll just get a job like in marketing or sales or something. But to my surprise, there were no jobs. So I woke up the day after Thanksgiving with a lot of leftovers and got this idea, and I shared it with, I don't know if you remember Mary Rose Wilson.
Yeah, I remember her. Yeah.
Yeah. And I told her my idea, and she was like a culinary genius. And she made these amazing sandwiches, and I put them in a Playmate cooler, and I started out with 12 of them, and pretty soon we had 5 employees.
Oh my gosh! Oh wow!
Yeah, it was great. That's how we paid bills in Sedona for a while.
Uh-huh. And back then, I knew you of a person who liked to meditate and play music. I guess both of those have been a huge part in your life.
Mm-hmm.
I remember working on my first poetry CDs with you with the music. That was definitely incredible. And as the first time I actually saw you as a musician, and you were actually improvising. So for each one of the poems that we had, it was amazing just to see on the fly how you could sink in to what was being said and compose a music that way.
Yeah. Thank you.
So that's been part of almost all your life, isn't it? The piano, playing guitar.
Well, no, ironically not. I didn't start the piano till in my early 20s. So I didn't play as a child. I never took piano lessons. None of that.
I didn't know that.
Oh, you didn't know that?
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah, I kind of came in through the back door. I played and actually studied and took lessons on the French horn all through junior high and high school. And then in my senior year in high school, I didn't want to play anybody else's music anymore. I was just finished with that, because I just, it's like I had this inner calling to write my own music and play what I felt. So I just kind of gravitated to the piano. First it was guitar, but I realized I could express much more of what I was feeling on the piano. So everywhere I'd go, I'd start tinkering around, and I didn't know what I was doing. In my first job at a church, I don't even think I knew what the black notes did. But I just went out and started playing. So I really kind of put the cart before the horse. And that's kind of how I teach people, just do it first, and then you can start figuring it out as you go.
So
I can't. Yeah, about 22 years old, I think I started.
Oh, wow, that's amazing. So that's why you teach people to go beyond the traditional learning, row your boat, just or
it's kind of a spiritual approach, because it is that whole thing about letting go and trusting, and the very fact that you want to do it is that means like you're getting this desire to do it. So within the seeds of the desire is the solution. So if you keep doing it, you'll figure out a way to do it, either professionally or at least for your own enjoyment. So that's what I teach. And then I teach the fundamentals of chords and things like that. But the whole way, I'm encouraging people just to start playing something, whatever they're feeling.
So what's the latest, for you? Music. I know it's always changing. Every time I talk to you, you're on to a different journey. So
Well, now it's by default because the whole world has changed. So I was teaching part-time in community colleges, a class called Just for Fun Piano for 27 years. So I was in over 65 cities, and I would do this 3-hour workshop, and it was a lot of fun and pretty romantic at the beginning because I was traveling and I was doing what I love to do. And it was mainly adults, you know, community colleges.
Yeah.
And so just 5 months ago, that came to an end. So that was the end of that whole teaching thing as we know it, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then all physical gigs since the beginning of March have been canceled. So as far as getting out there and doing some of the other physical things I was doing, that's on hold. But a whole other door opened up as things would happen. And I ran into a gentleman who's been doing seminars for musicians about being a sustainable musician in this age, in any age, not just COVID, but an alternative to the traditional music business, you know, because so few people make it in the business, you know. It's so different than it used to be with Spotify, iTunes, and all these things, where you literally make fractions of a penny for your music, you know. So unless you're licensing your music or you're the top 2% that's out there touring and stuff, it's pretty rough. So I was presented with this whole new paradigm on making music professionally. And that involves speaking and playing for events and things like that, called keynote concerts. So I've been training and taking the training on that, and custom songs. So this would be like writing songs for couples that are having a wedding, or maybe even a professional speaker that's out there touring and wants an anthem, you know, wants an anthem to them. Yeah. So I'm looking at a whole different way of doing the music. That's it's even working virtually, you know. A lot of industries are still having speakers and entertainers perform virtually. You know? And of course, people are still going to get married.
Yeah, exactly. I heard a story recently about Ringo Starr, and I may have told you this before, but Ringo Starr said, you know, in the 60s, I could just do one song and I could buy a house for that.
I remember that.
You remember that?
Well, I remember, Paul McCartney was having a conversation with John Lennon, and one of them said, wow, I'd really like a swimming pool. Let's write a song. You know, one song will buy a new house, a new swimming pool. Yeah, so that's the top 2% we're talking about.
Well, and now Ringo Starr says, you know, I get mere pennies.
What is it?
I get mere pennies when I do a song now, you know. It's not even, you know, for him, it's almost like it's not even worth my time. You know, he does it because of the love of it, but if you know, for the financial reward, as you said, it's just a small percent. That's kind of disheartening in one way. You know, I think was it in England? I think England, they were given money because to the starving musicians during this time, because they knew, you know, that their livelihoods is at stake and they can't perform. So they, I don't know how many millions of dollars that the government had in a fund, and they distribute it to musicians in England. Yeah,
and those are extremely valuable. Yeah, so I'll just share with you that I've had to date three different organizations help me out. And it's just so amazing that these organizations have formed and are helping musicians to the tunes of millions and millions of dollars. One of the biggest that's helped me many times is called Music Cares. And I'm not sure if I think the founders might be James Taylor and Carole King, but they're definitely involved in it in some way. And so they're helping musicians for years with everything, you know, whatever they need. So yeah, they've really stepped up. The Jazz Foundation of New York City has helped me out. And then we have a local organization here in Oregon for musicians, and they've been able to help. Just, you know, you just ask and they're there. And so it's beautiful. It's really beautiful that they're supporting us through this time, you know.
Because music definitely is a foundation, in my eyes, for society. Can you imagine a world without music?
Yeah, they said that all great civilizations declined. It was always after the art declined, the civilization would always fall. It was Rome or ancient Greece, or, you know. Once the art went, the civilization usually collapsed.
And when 60% of your budget or more goes to defense, that's the big thing, the decline. So you spend so much money in defense, and you don't have enough money for the arts. So they both come.
Well, yeah, we know that conversation. It's just mind-boggling.
Okay, well, let's skip that one and go on.
It's changing. I think it's changing. The numbers are
Yeah.
changing.
Uh-huh. But you and I we're definitely on the same wavelength in terms. For me, I love to promote kindness and goodness and compassion. That you can see on my Facebook post that that's what I write about.
That's what you're about. Yeah, I love it. It's
That's what I'm
wonderful.
about. And
Yeah.
that's what your music is
Yeah.
about.
I
So
hope so. I hope so. Yeah.
well, most definitely. Yeah.
Yeah. I hope so because it's I'm reading. I don't know if you've ever read it, but it's called The Seat of the Soul
Oh yeah. Uh-huh.
by Gary Zukav, right?
Yeah.
And of course, I found out about it by watching Oprah, who said even though she had been extremely successful, this book is really what changed her. It changed her personally and it changed her business because he's talking about where the personality is used as a platform to express the soul. I mean, just that phrase right there is like shivering.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, that's exactly what I want. It's like, Muhammad Ali, the greatest athlete of all time. No one will argue with you, but he always said that boxing was only to get people's attention because he liked to talk about spirituality and God and ethics, and these things. So just happened to be the best boxer in the world, and it did get people's attention. So they would listen to the other things.
Yeah.
And so, that's what this book's about. And it's hopefully that's what I want. I want to use my personality, my music, for a higher purpose. I'm not interested in the next hit tune or anything like that. But if it wakes somebody up to a higher plane, a higher consciousness.
I remember Gary's first book. Remember the Tao of Physics?
I haven't read that. I want to read all his books.
Oh my
now.
gosh! That's I read that in the 70s. Imagine this: you could not tell the difference between a Taoist monk saying something or the modern day quantum physics. They both you couldn't tell the difference. So
Isn't that exciting? Yeah.
Yeah. Oh my
gosh. That's what's going on now, right? It's no longer a new age or an airy fairy concept. It's what's happening now is science is meeting spirituality. We're just seeing the law of attraction is quantum physics. The third law of motion is law of attraction. It's all there.
Yeah.
The words of Jesus and Buddha, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's fascinating.
And one thing I was thinking, because both of us are interested in the quantum field. For years I meditated, and I saw, the light inside. So I equated that, to the heavenly realms. But then, I started looking at quantum, the quantum field. Imagine the quantum field is beyond time and space. It appears in all dimensions. It's in the known and unknown. And scientists think that the universe is 10 to the 28th power. That's how many universes you are. So the more I thought about it, when we go inside, we're connecting to the quantum field. And that really has big, because most people think the heaven is a place you go to.
Right.
Where it's actually where heaven exists inside of us. Right. And modern day scientists are even beginning, to prove that.
Yeah. The quantum field it's scientific, and it's the seat of all these spiritual teachings, I think. Yeah. I'm loving it.
Yeah. And to think that field is pure love, pure compassion. That that's a difference between scientific quantum field you put in your thinking cap. Your intellectual, okay, it's a field, but then to know you are the universe and you just don't know it, that's another thing. We are absolute pure love, which we know, so, and that's why when your music, that's where it comes from,
Well, music, gets to the heart, and this is another thing now where science is coming out and saying, the heart itself has a brain. And that the heart emanates something like 5,000 times more electromagnetic energy than the brain itself.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
The heart is the center of everything. And what's so interesting, I watch a lot of these near-death experience things. They're so fascinating to me because in the interviews and things, people from all over the world are saying the same thing, that don't know each other. That they went into this other realm and they came back and they said, it's love. That's all it is. It's love. Everybody said basically the same thing.
Yeah, but like remember in the 80s, Ray Moody, she wrote the book.
Yeah, he kind of started that whole thing. Now there's Eben Alexander. I don't know if you've heard of this book, Proof of Heaven.
Oh yeah, I heard that one. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I didn't read the book entirely, but I've seen him tell his story a couple times.
Mhm.
Fascinating story because he was a neurosurgeon. So
Oh.
he was all about the brain is the head of everything. Everything's different for him now.
Hmm. Yeah,
And
and the Heart Institute, they're.
yeah, the Heart Institute. Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah,
so
so that's
go ahead.
I was going to say, so that's the thing, hopefully with music is it's a way to access people's heart. So these words and these concepts. I mean, when I first started, this is interesting. I got this idea of combining some of my talks with music. And then this guy came to me with an actual format. He said, yeah, I've been doing it for 13 years. Now I teach it. So I might have mentioned I went to his workshop and stuff and start doing this training. But just before that, I went out on my own, before I even knew about him, to combine my music on body, mind, medicine, because that's really my main thing right now, and a little concert. So I would play a little bit, then I would talk a little bit about the body-mind connection, chronic pain, and that kind of thing. So what was fascinating is when I asked for testimonials and things, that one of them that I got was actually from a nurse, and she said it was so wonderful to hear your music by your message, because what it did is it opened up my heart so that I could access the words that you were using.
Yeah.
It made the message that much more accessible. And I went, wow, that's exactly it. That's what I want. The music has a message and a meaning beyond just, like a regular just concert,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and even scientists will prove that when you listen to the music, most people are in a beta, high beta.
Yeah.
Music, will allow them to go from beta, to alpha to theta. And in those states, that's where a person receives,
Yeah, that's interesting to hear. Right. So the music helps me receive.
Most people are in a reactive modes, right? That they react to situations. So music just kind of, calms them down to enter a force field that they can easily receive, what's about.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, hang on. Can you hang on 1 second? I got to grab a Band-Aid.
Yeah.
My dog was over friendly and kind of bit me. So
Oh.
Yeah, she doesn't know her own power, and she's just playing and like draws blood. So, okay. Anyway, yeah, so that's exciting. It's all exciting, and it adds purpose, because when I first started, I just knew I wanted to play, and I thought, well, maybe I want to be in a band, and then, well, maybe I want to be famous, and all these things. But through, I guess, my spiritual path, I realized, no, this is what I want. I want it to be a platform, because the spirituality has always been there. As far back as I remember when I was a kid, there's always been some sense of something greater, and music was much later.
So when did you first realize that, at what age?
Well, it's interesting. Are you familiar with Greg Braden?
Oh, yeah.
Well, Greg Braden had a similar story, because years ago, I was brought up in a Christian church, which is really weird because my mom's Jewish, but she is Jews for Jesus. So, all right. So I was brought up there. And I thought, wow, I just loved hearing people like Billy Graham and stuff. And I was so blown away with how they could move people with their voice, So I thought, wow, I want to be like that. But years later, watching the piano player at the church, I went, oh my God, I want that too. And so Greg Braden was talking about a similar thing. In fact, he even said Billy Graham. He said, wow, he was really blown away with Billy Graham when he was a kid. And he wanted to be like, and Greg Braden's also a musician.
Oh, yeah, he is. Okay, yeah.
Yeah, he's a musician, but he realized the words were so much more powerful. And he gave the analogy when he went to his first Jefferson Airplane concert. And he said, you could go home, but then you'd have to buy the record to keep the energy going and stuff. But when you hear a great speaker, it reaches a deeper inside sometimes, it can really hit a place that can change your life in one speech. So yeah, he's doing a similar thing. He's more, of course, he's a scientist, so he's more with the science and things. But he's a musician, and once in a while in his talks, you'll see him bring out his flute or his guitar or something.
Oh wow! Yeah.
Yeah. But it was way back then. It was actually in a Christian church when I would hear these guys do these sermons. I go, oh, what a fascinating thing to be able to have this power to move people. Even though years later, of course, I grew to be not in agreement with that particular Christian message, the way it was being portrayed. still the power to move people. Well, with people like Bruce Lipton and Greg Braden, Joe Dispenza, all these people that are moving people with their bringing science to spirituality. That's what those guys are all about. So, but I used to realize that my mom used to tell me, man, every time you had friends over, you'd be on the bed and they would be on the floor like you were a guru or something. And I didn't really realize that because I was always talking about something spiritual.
Yeah.
When I was Christian, I was influenced by that. I was always talking about Christianity. And then once that changed, then I was talking about the next thing.
So when did you start to realize that the journey was within?
Oh man,
was there ever a conscious decision, or just slowly over time?
I think slowly over time, and I think this is before I met you. I met Linda Graham in Fresno.
Yeah.
I had just gotten out of a marriage. She had just got out of a marriage, and I met her through a friend at Church of Religious Science, which was very interesting. And right at that time, I was introduced to a meditation teacher. So I started meditating in the early 80s. And I think that kind of started things off because that became a foundation for me.
Yeah.
You know?
That got the ball rolling right inside.
Yeah, even though I went in and out of it for years, I'd stop, I'd go, I'd stop. I knew that was essential to any spiritual path. That's the bottom line.
Yeah.
Everything else is kind of optional, but you have to meditate.
Yeah.
Tune in. You have to tune in. So I think that's where it started, and then religious science actually started me down that path. I think because it's the first time I had heard about the possibility that you create your own reality. That you have this power to create your own reality, and they did a thing at that time called treating. You could treat for someone or treat for yourself, which was really just a manifestation practice. How to manifest by visualization.
Yeah.
So, I would say religious science kind of started me off. Ernest Holmes' teachings. Yeah,
he had a huge influence in there. I think he started in the 20s and 30s.
Yeah, right. Yeah, they got Casey and stuff. Yep, I believe that was it. And then Mafu came through Linda, and she showed me a first video. And then we went up to San Luis Obispo, interesting, where I was supposed to be today. I canceled. But that's the first time I saw Mafu was in Morro Bay.
Okay, cool.
Or maybe it might have been San Luis Obispo. It was one of the big hotels right there, in that area.
Yeah,
Central Coast.
Yeah.
And that was when Penny Torres, right, first started channeling, and it was like, whoa.
I came, let's say about 3 months later.
Did you later? Wow.
Yeah, I came in 1986. 86, is that, were you in 86?
Yeah, 86 is about the time we moved to Sedona.
Okay. So, I was in 86. I was working for Shirley MacLaine.
Whoa! I didn't know that.
She was doing a nationwide tour, and my girlfriend at the time, she was living in Virginia. I was living in Miami Beach, and she got a job working for Shirley MacLaine. So then they heard I was a software engineer, so they hired me. So then I moved to California, and my very first day in L.A., Shirley MacLaine, said to the group, we're going to go see, Mafu tonight. Do you guys want to come? And I heard about Mafu from Harry Bartz and David Schweitzer in Miami about 3 months before that.
Right?
So synchronicity,
Oh, yeah. I forgot that. And Harry was selling computers in Florida, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Oh, he was making huge money.
He was making huge money because he moved to Sedona with a ton of money. I remember.
Yeah. And did you ever meet David Schweitzer? David was in,
yeah. Through Harry or maybe through you, I forget exactly.
Yeah. Because he was in Sedona at the same time.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So that was an incredible journey, even with Mafu in the beginning. Wasn't it? Oh my God.
How do you even explain that to somebody? Yeah,
there's no words.
There were times, and I'm not sure what my connection was with Mafu now. I haven't been in a long time and everything. And there were many times I would be in a darshan just going, this is like some Hollywood production, and all this doubt and things. But I'll remember one night, man, and it was right after my My dad had passed away, and there was a big darshan. You know how it is. It's like a rock concert. I always tell people it's like Led Zeppelin on steroids. It's just, when Mafu comes. And I was angry. I was hurt. I just didn't feel like this was my path. And I had all this angst and anger. And it's just like, all right, I'll go this darshan, blah, blah, blah. And I'm going, and Mafu comes out. You know how it is, the drumming, and blah, blah, blah. And Mafu just locks eyes with me and walks right up to me. I could feel it right now when I say it. I'll never forget it.
Wow.
Just when I was like, I have so had it with this. This is fake. It's phony. I don't believe any of this crap. Walks right up to me, puts his arms around me.
Oh, wow.
And I was like a candle. It was melt. And he whispered. I don't remember what he said to me. I don't remember it. But he said something to me. It didn't matter what he said because it was that physicalness that he gave me. Mm-hmm. And I went, man, I don't understand it, but it's something going on here. Right up to me. There were 100 people there or more.
Wow.
I was feeling so disconnected from that whole scene, but I'll never forget that.
Yeah. And that's what, and that's what memories are for. You can, remember it right now and just like you were there.
Yeah, it's totally visceral. I can remember like I was there.
Yeah.
I remember I was in tears. I was just crying because I knew then that he understood. Somehow he understood.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I'm not real happy right now. I lost my dad. I don't know what's going on with this whole thing. I'm just